Hey, this is Bonecrusher, man. Tonight on 7 Questions in 7 Seconds, an origin story with the ATL greats. I got my family, Mr. ColliPark, a.k.a. DJ Smurf, BMI award winner, Grammy nominated. We're going to have some fun tonight, guys. I want you to make sure you stay tuned in. It's going to be outstanding. Hey, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Bonecrusher, your host for the evening. And welcome to 7 Questions in 7 Seconds, an origin story with the ATL greats. All right. And tonight, we have a very good friend of mine, one of the best to ever do it, Mr. ColliPark, a.k.a. DJ Smurf. Hey, many years I've been knowing you, man.
That's right.
How you feeling?
I feel great.
You ready to get into this?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
I'm curious to see what we're doing.
Come on, we're going to do it. Question number 1.
Okay.
Tell the humans your origin and where it all started with you and your love for music.
It started as a DJ.
Right.
Well, no, before I was a DJ, listening to my brother play his records.
Which brother?
My oldest brother, Kevin.
Kevin. How's he doing?
He's doing great.
Outstanding.
Yeah. So that's where, because I idolized him. Mm-hmm. So anything he was into, I wanted to be into it. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it has to be deeper than that. It got we got to.
No, it's really not, because that's before everything.
Right.
I'm talking about as a boy, like elementary school.
Gotcha.
So this is before the DJing.
Right.
You know, I can even go far as back as to say he was in the marching band, and that's why I started playing the trumpet.
Wow.
Matter of fact, it was his hand-me-down coronet because we couldn't afford a trumpet.
Right.
So that's how deep that is.
Gotta love it, man. Gotta love it. Question number 2.
Okay.
You started your career as one of the best DJs in the city.
Thank you.
What got you interested in the art of DJing, and how did you get started with Edward J and the J Team, man? Tell me about that.
Okay, so what got me interested in the DJing, I always tell people this. Mm-hmm. I remember being at a house party and Throw the Dick had first came out.
Right.
And I remember I remember walking up the stairs.
Right.
And I remember the scratches in Throw the Dick.
Yeah.
And I remember it just feeling like somebody just looked down from heaven.
Right.
Because it wasn't only the DJing, it was what he was doing, which Luke was a pioneer where he was taking those old comedy records and scratching them in them 2 Live Crew records. So that kind of spoke to me. And if you follow my career content-wise.
Right.
Yin Yang and even my DJ Smurf records, they were all based off my love for that type of music.
Right.
Yeah.
So tell me, so when did you really took it to a place where you say, this is really what I want to do? I know a lot of times for us, we don't think like that. We're just in the vibe of it.
Right. It was always the love, though.
Right.
It was always the love. I took the DJing so seriously.
Right.
But it was a hobby, though. It wasn't, you got to think back then, the music industry wasn't here.
At all.
At all. Especially when we talk about DJing. I'm not talking about when we started making records. I'm talking about when we started DJing in the late 80s.
Right.
It was just the love for wanting to be a part of that. Back when New York was the mecca of hip-hop.
Indeed.
And there was no connection from here to there.
Right.
So it was just like a kid sitting at home just doing it.
You know what's so crazy, man? I remember I used to try to DJ because, people don't know we from, I'm from Adamsville, but my latter years in high school was in Point Ridge at Banneker, right?
Right.
So I used to DJ, and I was nowhere near as good as you, period. Like, I was garbage compared to you, right? So I remember one time I was downstairs at the house, at your house. Right. Shouts out to the Crooms. And I was DJing, and I started, you said, all right, man, that's cool. So I sat on a chair, and you went to go do your thing and destroy the turntables. And you put a beat on the instrumental, and I start rapping. Oh. You don't realize you're the first guy that told me you should be a rapper. DJing ain't your thing, bro.
My head just blew up.
Remember that?
No, I do not.
You said, yo, man, you give me a heavy D, kind of, your voice is crazy. You should be a rapper, not a DJ.
You know what's deep about that?
Yeah.
Because that was the beginning of me doing what I became.
Right.
That's crazy.
That's very crazy. Remember the battle? I set the battle up.
That was me and was it
DJ Win.
Right,
Rest in peace to DJ Win, man.
R.I.P. Win, man.
R.I.P. Win.
Yeah.
Hey, let me tell you something. You started two things for me: rapping and being able to consult and connect with people.
Man, you freaking me out right now.
I'm just telling the truth. We're gonna take it back. We're gonna have some fun.
So how did the second part? How did I inspire that?
The consulting stuff?
Yeah.
Because I set that battle up. I remember when we used to do that, we had the actual the vocational side of it. And Tri-City went to the vocational side of it for Banneker. I mean, the vocational school was right next to Banneker.
Okay, right.
So Westlake went there, Tri-Cities, and Banneker went to that vocational school.
Right.
Win was in my graphic arts class, and I told Win, he was talking about how good of a DJ he was, man, God rest him. Win was a very confident, bro. Right. You know, he was very confident.
Seriously confident.
Shouts out to Big Al.
Couldn't tell him nothing.
Yeah, very confident.
Right.
So he was going in. You know, back then I was a fighter, so I didn't really want to hear that. I was like, yo, man, you know, you ain't that good, bro. He was like, man, what you talking about, man? Blah, 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 blah. I said, man, Smurf will kill you, man. Man, I've been wanting man, I keep hearing this, man. Who is this Smurf? I was like, yo, man, Smurf will knock you out, man. He'll take you off the turntables.
Right.
He was like, no. I said, all right, I'm going to set it up. So I set it up, and he was like, man, I'm with it. Win came to your house, y'all battled. We should have filmed. See, we didn't do a lot of filming back then.
I'm telling you, it wasn't about that back then. It was just us doing what we was doing.
Just doing what we were doing.
We didn't know it was going to turn out the way it turned out.
We sure didn't.
Yeah.
We sure didn't. So let's get a little deeper into it.
Okay.
For me, you guys for Atlanta is the essence at the beginning of the mixtape.
Okay.
Between the South Side and Decatur. How did you hook up with Edward J?
Do you remember Derrick Williams?
Yes, I do. Derrick Williams, the rapper.
D-Mos Def.
D-Mos Def.
Yeah, that was my rapper. That was my MC.
I remember Hey.
So he lived with his mom and his stepdad.
Right.
But he would go visit his dad in Decatur.
Right.
So Edward J had a church in Decatur where he was a deacon.
That's right.
And Derrick's father, I guess, attended that church. And that's how Derrick knew Edward J.
Right.
So I was doing my thing on the South Side. Mm-hmm. So Derrick turned me on to Edward J on the East Side.
Wow.
So we jumped on Marta.
Wow.
And went to the J shop. And that's how I met Edward J.
And he saw you on them tables.
Yep.
And the rest is history.
And I still have the turntables because I couldn't afford Techniques.
Of course.
So I was on some Fishers or something, whatever I had at my mom's house or whatever. And Jay was so big on the East Side.
Right, of
Jay
course.
was bigger than life back then.
Right, of course.
So when he heard me, he knew I needed a little, helping along. He had some turntables just thrown in a back room somewhere.
Wow.
And he dusting them off and was like, here, take these. And I took them. They ain't have no needles on them. So I had to go to Radio Shack and buy some little cheap heads.
Yeah.
And those are the only turntables I ever owned. And I still have them to this day. Those are the
Technique 1200s?
I never bought another pair.
Golly, that's outstanding, man.
I still got them.
Need to frame them. Why not?
Yeah.
Hey, listen. So when did you decide, we just talked about this, but when did you decide for real to go from DJing to rapping and producing?
Well, the rapping thing was just something that I just did. I never considered myself a rapper.
Right.
Never. I was
why.
just such a fan of it. Right. You know what I mean? Right. And so when I went to college, that's when Home Team.
Yeah.
Remember Home Team?
Pick it up.
Yeah.
Boom.
So their whole album I was a fan of.
Right.
And believe it or not, Tag Team, before they blew up,
right,
they came and performed at Alabama A&M where I went to college.
Wow.
And I was blown away by that record.
Right.
Because it was bass music, which we were used to hearing.
Right.
But the lyrical flow of it, it just took me. The way they came rapping on that record wasn't typical.
Right.
So the Tag Team, back again. Check it the record. Let's be like, that wasn't no Southern shit.
Right.
And I became a fan of that. So believe it or not, between me being a fan of Tag Team and Home Team,
right,
the first record I recorded was Drop Like This. You remember Drop Like This, bitch? If you remember the way I rhymed on that record, I lower that shit, I drop it to the ground.
Right.
Bass for the bitches so bitches get down. I was kind of mimicking
Right.
Tag team, and home team.
Right.
So my flow was a combination of that, just me having fun.
Right.
And because people didn't know where my inspiration came from, the way I was flowing on bass records, they took to it here in the city. Like, yo, Smurf be flowing or whatever. And that's where I got my rap style from. Wow. And I started producing seriously for MC Shy D.
Right.
When I started DJing for him after Toomp left.
Yeah, after Toomp, yeah.
Right. So after Toomp left, Shy went to jail for a year, came out, made an album called The Comeback, and my first placement was his first single for the Comeback album, True to the Game, which came out on Itchy Bun Records.
That's right.
Right. Fast forward, Itchy Bun Records, right after we dropped True to the Game, did a bass compilation.
Right.
Off the Grumpy Old Man who was at the beginning of the Whoop There It Is.
That's
record.
right.
Excuse me, Sonny.
That's right. That's right.
Right. So they made a whole compilation off of that and asked who had spare songs.
Right.
So I submitted my Drop Like This record. And they went crazy and gave me a record deal.
Crazy.
That's how I became a artist, quote unquote. Yeah, because I wasn't no artist. I was a DJ.
You know what? The crazy part about it is, man, great things always come from just divine order.
Right.
We don't really.
I agree.
The better things come from the openness of just being in the moment.
Right.
You never know what comes out of it. Usually greatness comes. And that is really the beginning of your transition into the legacy, which is Mr. ColliPark. Right. So, you know, we're going through talking about you transitioning to an artist, man.
Right.
And the next question is, it's 1995, right?
Okay.
What's your inspiration behind VersaStyles?
Whew. You know what's crazy? I played that album for my son who had no clue of who his father really was.
Right.
Because I didn't bring them up under Mr. ColliPark. I brought them up under Michael Crooms. Right. Exactly. So we were just riding out.
Daddy.
And I played that album. I dug it up because that's before Yin Yang, before Soulja Boy. I just dug that shit up. I said, listen to this. And even for me, I hadn't listened to that album in years.
Right.
It was my college experience.
Yeah.
And what college was for me was me being exposed to the country. I can't say the world because I was 285 just like everybody else from here.
Yeah.
Like I ain't no different. I was Southside, booty shake, bass music and all that. When I went to college, my freshman year, I was in a senior dorm with nothing but Chicago, Detroit, and New York.
That's right.
That's all that was on my floor. So I was exposed to some shit that just I couldn't stand it at first, but as a DJ, I had to accept it.
Right.
So when I went back and listened to VersaStyles with my son, I could hear it. I was like, oh my God, I was exposed to so much shit. That's why I only had 3 bass songs on that album.
Right.
The rest was West Coast, East Coast.
Yeah.
It was my take on hip hop.
But it had a lot to do with, I know for a fact that people don't know this about you, that you were a big fan of Joe Cooley and Rodney Hill back in the day.
For sure.
And that's a lot of inspiration I hear on VersaStyles too, man. And it's really for me very opening my mind up to just realizing the type of depth why you're such a great producer.
Thank you.
Yeah, man.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But again, all my influences, whatever inspired me up until that point, I regurgitated it on that album. And a lot of people, it went over a lot who were here. The 3 bass songs that I had on that album were so powerful that it saved me because a lot of people were pissed off at me at that album because they thought that I was just gonna do a booty shake 2 Live Crew album.
Right.
And it wasn't.
Right.
It was a real my take on hip hop, which is why I called it VersaStyles.
Right.
And however they took it, it was the launch of my take. And I did it my way. Nobody's influence was on it. I didn't give a damn who thought what.
Right.
I did it and I turned it in and said, "Here, this is me." And they took it.
But that's the key to being an iconic artist. Not caring about the opinions of others. Right. Just what you feel inside that brings out the energy, make people follow you.
Right.
And that is the reason why, once again, you are a star on the turntables and a star on the production side between the SB1200 and MPC.
And I have to give praises to MC Shy D.
Of course.
Because when I started DJing for him, I was exposed to the foundational tools of hip hop. The DJ and the MC.
Right.
How to mix a record, the kick and the snare.
Right.
The importance of just the ground level elements of what we do. Because he's still to this day, he's simplistic. He'll walk in here with a white tee and some jeans. Right. Now.
I just talked to him. You're right. You're right.
He's very simple.
Yeah. He
comes from that era. But I was around that, and that was instilled in me at a young age.
Right.
I come from great DNA, I tell people. And I didn't even notice it at the time. Between Edward J.
Usually don't.
Between Edward J.
Right.
That was my A&R exposure. You know, being in that record store, making and selling mixtapes to people. I had to know what people wanted to hear.
That's right.
So that started me paying attention without even knowing it.
That's right. The master tapes hanging on the wall back in the back.
Right.
Come on now, you know.
Right. And then you fast forward to MC Shy D. He gave me all that other good shit, man.
Right.
And I put that in every artist that I signed and worked with. And you can see it.
You're right.
Yeah.
You produced and worked with some of the biggest hits. You produced and worked on some of the biggest hits ever in hip hop. You winning a BMI award, nominated for a Grammy, working with Yin Yang Twins, Bubba Sparks, Pitbull, Little John, and me, just to name a few.
Right.
When you're in production mode, what equipment and energy is essential to making that forever trending sound?
Back then it was the SB12.
Right. The grit.
It was that, because even when I started using keyboards, I MIDI'd the SB12 with the keyboards.
Right.
And then when I started working in the MPC, I never became a big fan of the MPC, but when I started working with keyboards, I had to start using it for sequencing and stuff like that, which allowed me to work with more outboard gear as far as sound modules and stuff like that. But I'm very simple like that. The ASR-10 became my keyboard of choice. My early Yin Yang records, Whistle While You Twerk, was me sampling into the ASR-10 and MIDIing the drums from the SB12. And come to find out, Timbaland, I think that's one of his cornerstone pieces. And Toomp used an Insonic keyboard, but it wasn't the ASR-10. I want to say it was another one. But not even knowing. I guess great minds think alike.
That's right.
Because the feel of the ASR-10, it just, I don't know. And the RZA. I heard the RZA was a big ASR-10 guy. I don't know. It was just like, I just stumbled up on it. I don't know if that was just the keyboard to get at the time or whatever, but when I started using it, it just, the way that it fit with the SB12 was magic. And then when I started discovering other sound modules and stuff, I wound up finding the motif.
Right.
So the motif,
the chord,
my latter stuff, the richness of the horns, like Trap Star. I did the horns and all the music and stuff, and I still haven't found anything now that sounds better than the motif keyboard. Right. So those through my career, the SB12, the ASR-10, and the motif.
The motif.
Yeah.
So the MPC was just not your choice of weapon.
Nah, because even when I sampled my drums into it, it just didn't have that.
It ain't grit.
Right.
It's the beginning of the digital age, really.
It really is.
Right.
And it felt like that to me. And I used it, but I never loved it.
Right.
I liked it more for sequencing than I did for the sound.
Outstanding. For those few that don't know about you, you're a musical executive as well. You have to have a magical ear to pick the stars.
Let me stop you, dog, because can I stop you real quick?
Don't stop me.
Okay, go ahead.
What you want to stop me for?
I want to stop you because just sitting here listening to you now, it reminds me of back when you used to do the impersonations.
Right, at school.
And I always felt like you had a calling in that shit.
Right.
I didn't know what. Honestly, when you started rapping and call yourself Bonecrusher, I just knew that was the beginning of, I ain't gonna lie, I saw you taking your rap shit to some other shit.
You about to see.
The character of Bonecrusher.
You about to see.
And just listening to you now, you were born for this shit.
Oh, man, I appreciate you, brother.
Yeah.
That means a lot coming from
because
family.
I got you in my ears right now.
Right.
And so I'm hearing you, the tone of your voice. You always had that. And I'm glad you finally, outside the rap.
Right.
Because you did use it for that.
Right.
But now this is a natural progression. Just like me and progressing.
It's humbling.
Right.
It's humbling.
Hey, man.
Thank you, man. Thank you, Smurf.
Yeah, congratulations.
Hey, man, I appreciate you.
Now, continue.
Okay. So, since we're talking about that, outside of production, outside rapping, you're also an executive, a label owner. You have to have a magical ear to pick the stars, which you do. What's the genius thoughts behind picking a Soulja Boy, Hurricane Chris, Yin Yang Twins, VIC, and some of the other artists from your label?
I think for me, I never signed an artist that ran me down.
Right.
It's every artist that I've had success with, they have something that's undeniable about them. And you never know what it is.
Right.
And probably the best example of that is VIC. He's the artist that was running up on me because he used to cut hair at the barbershop on Old National.
Right.
So he used to run up on me all the time through gospel rap, and he went through phases, right?
Right.
So my brother wound up actually signing him. But I wound up executive producing, and I wasn't a fan until I went to see him perform.
Okay. The real
what was that spot on Auburn Avenue?
Royal Peacock.
Royal Peacock.
Yeah.
They had like this night at Royal Peacock. So they finally got me down there to see him perform.
Right.
And there's always something that every special artist has.
Indeed.
And when I see them move, when they perform, I'm a huge live performance guy.
Of course.
If you go from Yin Yang Twins to Soulja Boy, the early Soulja Boy,
right,
to if you can't perform live, I'm just
you're garbage.
Yeah. So I just come from that era.
Right.
When I saw him perform, whatever that it was for him, it came across.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, I can work with him now.
Right.
Because before I was just going through the motions.
Right.
That's probably the best example of, because I'm not going to pick, you can line up artists against the wall, and I'm probably not going to pick the obvious artist that everybody else is going to pick.
Indeed.
It's going to be that artist that got something special.
The X Factor.
And different. Even Soulja. I wasn't the first person to run across him.
Right.
But
Southern Red used to play that record over at Red Train.
Even when he first was brought to my attention, I didn't see it. But when I started looking, I saw it.
Yeah.
So it's just every artist has something about them that's undeniable.
Right.
And I've been blessed with the gift to see what other people can't see.
Right.
Yin Yang is my biggest accomplishment musically.
Yeah.
Just because of who they are as people.
Right.
Artists.
Right.
And no, I'm the only person on this earth that would have worked with them. Being that you know them personally.
Yeah.
They have handicaps.
My brothers. I love them.
They have physical handicaps.
Yes.
And so I couldn't even talk about this back then.
Yeah.
20 years later, I can finally speak on it. I'm the only person that I never saw that early on. Their gifts, what people hear on wax right now.
Yeah.
It went through my soul when I heard them on record together for the first time.
They monsters.
And
bro.
I could not deny it.
That's right.
So, yeah.
That's great. And like I know just even the record Walk Around the Club.
Right.
Fuck everybody. When I first heard that record, I was at the club right there in Greenbrier. They used to have a night there. and I went over there and I heard it. Club Illusions. Was it Club Illusions?
No, it was the one behind Greenbrier, right?
It was right. It was Club Illusions. You thinking about in the parking lot.
Right.
What club was in the parking lot?
That was the club that was popping back then, I want to say. Oh, no, you're right. It was Club Illusions. Right, it was something else at that time.
It was just be Mr. V's Figure 8.
Right.
So now it was Club Illusion at the time.
Okay.
So I went in there, and I went in there for some reason, because I don't go to clubs no more. I went in there.
But that was about 10 years ago.
Yeah. So I went in there for some reason. But when I went in there, I heard the record. I was like, yo, what the fuck is this? This is crazy. Right. This takes me somewhere, right? And I never knew in a million years that you had anything to do with that. But when I heard about it, I wasn't shocked. You know what I'm saying? I just wasn't shocked. You one of the first guys I ever performed. Remember I performed Never Scared at the little club right here on West Atlanta Road. Oh, not West Atlanta Road, on West Peachtree. It ain't there no more. I forgot the name of the little club right there. But anyway, I performed there. You were there. And I performed, and I ran up the steps, came down the steps, acting all crazy, swimming on the floor.
Okay.
Everybody was looking at me like I had problems or whatever.
Right.
You walk up with me and say, hey, man, what are you doing with that? I was like, what do you mean? I said, man, I don't know what I'm doing with it. We're going to have some fun. He was like, bruh, we need to talk. And before we could have our talk, everybody else had a talk.
Okay.
And it ended up becoming what it was, which is still beautiful because we all still family.
Right.
But you picking those records, man, and those artists, man, means a lot for the history of Atlanta and a lot for the history of the Southern Sound. And I thank you, and a lot of other people do as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So who would have thought that krunk music, which you help, start and cultivate, would take it to this level and beyond? Did you ever think at that time that it would do what it's doing now?
I'll say this. It took a marketing genius like Lil Jon.
Yeah.
Because when you go through his DNA and where he comes from.
The DJ, the club.
It took an intelligent marketing genius to take that to where it went.
Right.
But it's 4 people who I don't think get enough credit for krunk. And you know who 2 of them are? Sam and Bo.
Yeah.
The East Side Boys.
East Side Boys, so yes. Let's out to Sam and Bo.
Before you can build a house, you got to have a slab.
Indeed.
Yin Yang Twins don't get the credit they deserve for krunk music.
Indeed.
They are krunk personified.
They are.
It's not an act.
It is not an act.
It is the real deal.
1,000.
So when Get Low popped.
Yes, sir.
The energy that they brought to what John was doing. Mm-hmm. Because John, all due respect, didn't start krunk.
No.
He created a genre of music.
Indeed.
Now I'll give him that credit.
Indeed.
However, that way of life, that's yin yang.
Indeed.
That's not an act. If you know them.
Man, come on, man. I know them.
It's not an act. So when you start from the ground level of it.
Right.
It took a level of authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you know John and you know Yin Yang and you know Sam and Bo.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I say John took it from where it started to what it became.
Right.
And it could never be what it is without John. He is the king of krunk.
Yeah.
But when you look at the foundation of those 4 people who, I want to say, legitimized it to the early crowd of it.
Right.
That working together made it what it was.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I give John all the credit because he put in a lot of work.
Yeah, he did.
And Brian Leach as well.
TBT
Leach,
shouts
Records.
out to Brian Leach.
The unsung people of that movement.
Yeah.
I just don't think Sam and Bo and Yin Yang get enough credit for that. You know what I mean? And I can speak on behalf of Yin Yang. It was frustrating for them in the beginning because they know what it was. They in the beginning, they was running around the club with their shirts off, dancing and shit. John wasn't doing no shit like that.
No.
That's not who John is.
Not John.
Right. Yeah. John had the megaphone and walk like that's cool. Yeah. But when you talk about as a way of life, that's what they were doing.
You know what's so crazy? When you say Yin Yang and Krunk, they are personified in that. And I remember doing a session on the Me and My Brother album. Was it Me and My Brother album we did the record? And we was at Billy's house. Shouts out to the Zone, man. Shouts out to Billy.
Right.
And he was like, "Hey, Bone, man, can you please help me get them downstairs into the booth?" And I was like, "How am I gonna help you get downstairs into the booth?" "Hey, man, I'm telling you, man, they trust you, dog. Can you just help me get them from upstairs?" You know, Billy had both studios going.
Right.
You know, and D-Rock and Kane, man, they were doing their drunk thing. And, and God bless them. I love them.
Right.
And they was upstairs. And I was like, "Yo, man, come on down, man. We finna get this record going." And I can remember Kane, man. He was like, "Let me tell you something, shawty. Let me tell you something, shawty. Hey, man, they gonna learn to respect us, shawty. We gonna do a whole Krunk album together, Bone." I said, "All right, man, let's do it,
He's
man."
Still saying the same shit
Come on.
in 2020.
Hey, man, you gotta love it, man. Kane is 100 all the time.
They are two of the, especially Kane.
Yeah.
They're not violent.
No.
But they two of the realest people.
Yeah. Genuine humans.
If you sit them down and hear their story.
Right.
You know, where they come from.
Right.
That's the most incredible story. Well, one of the most hip-hop will ever know or never know.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
So, here's our next 7 segment. You ain't got time to think, but you're going to think on this one. Give me, what are 7 songs that people would know that you got right now that you listen to?
Wow. Man. Okay. So, I started back DJing, right? Okay. So, I DJed for a crowd my age, so it took me back. So, that's where my head is right now. But even before then, Optimistic by the Sounds of Blackness.
Yes.
My Jamiroquai record, what's the name of that record? I play it at the end of every set. I can't never remember the name of it though. No, it's an album cut. Nope.
What did y'all do up there?
Tupac sampled it. I want to say, but that record didn't come out or something like that. That's too. I'm in a whole bass music zone right now.
Right. Take it back to the origin. Take it back.
A lot of Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Of course.
In the Stone.
Yes.
Yes. 100 Ways.
Yeah,
James Ingram.
Come on now. Produced by Quincy Jones.
Right. Speaking of that, which led me to rediscover Razzmatazz.
Yeah.
By Quincy Jones.
Indeed.
What's that? 5 or 6?
That's 6.
One more that they wouldn't know that I'm listening to.
Go deep. Don't be scared.
I really don't have to go deep.
That's what I'm talking about. Come on.
Here's a song that I listen to on a kind of a regular basis. Heaven by BB and CC.
I love that record.
Yeah, that's probably my favorite. Heaven and Optimistic.
You know what? You may not remember this, but you may do remember this. You were notorious for mixing slow songs with the bass groove, right?
Exactly.
With Get Funky or, whatever, Planet Rock or whatever.
Right.
And I think one of those J-Team tapes, you mixed Heaven with Get Funky.
It's possible.
I'm remembering it. I'm remembering it. It's going somewhere.
Yeah, okay, because I really played those records. Yeah.
Right. Let's go to this one. We're gonna do 7 seconds with Mr. ColliPark. 7 questions, 1-word answers. Right? Let's go. Describe your style of music in 1 word.
Southern.
Edward J or Shadi?
Ooh! Both?
You can do both. Technique or Serato?
Technique.
DJing at the club or DJing at the house parties?
House parties. All day.
Golden Glide or
Skate
Jelly
Town.
Bean? Jelly Bean.
Skate Town.
Ah, Skate Town. Independent or major?
Independent.
Okay. What's a song you can play on repeat for 24 hours?
Set
Non-stop.
it off. Set it off.
Why didn't I know that was going to be the record?
Set it off. Shit is that long anyway.
It's about 30 minutes long. We want to thank Mr. ColliPark, a.k.a. DJ Smurf.
Thank you.
Thank you, man.
This was fun, man. I don't know where this is going, but I hope it becomes everything for you.
Hey, man.
That you deserve it to be.
Oh, man, I appreciate you, brother.
Yeah.
I appreciate you, man.
Bonecrusher, everybody.
We out of here, man. Thank y'all for listening. It's an origin story, if you will. You know,
right.
ATL greats, Mr. ColliPark, a.k.a. DJ Smurf.
All right.
Right. 7 questions, 7 seconds. Thank you for being here, brother. All right. See y'all in the next one.
I am storyteller, one half of Crusher Consulting, sitting here with DJ Smurf,
all right,
a.k.a. ColliPark.
All right.
And I want to know, what did you think about, the origin story with the ATL greats and you being one of the ATL greats? And what did you think about the whole experience with Bone and the 7 questions with the 7 seconds?
First of all, I do a lot of interviews, but what was special about this one, I'm never doing an interview with somebody who actually knows.
That's true.
Ahead of time. So when I answer the questions, they can receive the information, but we can't go back and forth because they don't have a reference point. So the fact that me and him went to high school together made this different in a dope way.
Yes.
So that's number one. I think his insight of being from here gives this type of interview a different context.
Yeah.
And then I'm just happy for him because I've always been a fan of his vocal chords.
Yes.
And to hear him with these it's funny when you hear somebody with headphones on. It's different from just being in the room listening to people. So him interviewing me and I have his voice coming through my headphones. He has this voice that feels like this.
Yeah.
Well, how do you feel about,
all this girth, right?
Right. Yeah. Right. So that, I just think it's dope.
Yeah, I love the fact that you start interviewing him.
Right.
Because I think that's what makes this so unique, that he gets to interview you and ask you these amazing questions, share these experiences that people never heard before.
Right.
But then you also have experiences that he doesn't remember.
Right.
Or that you guys shared and moments that happened in the past.
Yeah,
and that's what made it special for me.
That I didn't know or forgot or however you want to put it. So yeah, that was dope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see the footage and see how it came out. And I can't wait for the people to hear and see these and really know where the story started and the pieces that intertwine in between.
Because we need, there's been a couple of these done and one of them aired nationally.
Yes.
And a lot of people called me mad. Why weren't you in it? It wasn't time for me to be in it.
Yeah.
If I got to go to you and make me a part of an Atlanta hip hop documentary, I don't know if I even need to be in that documentary.
And you know where you stand and you know your position in it. So at the end of the day, you own the story already.
Right. Yes. When it's time to be told, it will be told. And now it was time for me to tell it. So there you go.
Well, we're glad to have you. And it's been a pleasure listening.
Thank you for having me.
Hearing these old stories and, people are going to learn so much and things that they thought they knew. I think it's going to bring a lot of clarity to what the real story is.
God bless y'all for taking the time to do this.
Absolutely.
For real. Yeah.
It's a pleasure to have you, though. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.